Hello, everybody. Looks like the gauge says it's empty. Let's take a walk into the kitchen and see what's in the fridge today, guys. Hey, everybody. Thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Hopefully this is going to be a big treat. This is Flying Dog's Pearl Necklace Oyster Stout. Now, I'm not a big oyster fan, but I do like a nice oyster stout. I have had oysters before, but I don't like them raw, like on the shell or the half shell or anything like that. I've had them fried or several other different ways, but I just can't eat them raw. Just can't do it, y'all. Just ain't. It's just like, no, I ain't going there. I ain't going there. And a lot of people get sick off of eating those things that have some kind of contamination or something going on with them. I don't eat a lot of fish raw. Matter of fact, I don't eat none raw. Fish or oysters or anything. I like everything cooked a little bit. So unless it's a fruit or a vegetable, I like it cooked. And a lot of times I like the vegetables cooked. Just can't do the raw oysters, but I do like it in a nice oyster stout. So let's get on with this one, guys. It says here a dry stout brewed with Rappahannock River oysters. This is a 5.5%, so it's a low ABV. So we kind of need a date on the bottle here. I don't have the IBUs listed here, but over to the U.S. beer list, it tells me about the dating. It says Flying Dog uses a best before date. We use a modified Julian calendar to date most of our beers. If you look in the lower right corner of the label, you will find the code that reads, this one says 076A16. And according to what they got right here, the first three numbers are the day of the year that the beer will be out of date. So that's 076. So they're saying the 76th day. So you got 30, 30. So in March, around the 1st of March, they're saying this beer will be out of date. And the 16, the A is their batch number, and the 16 is the year. So this should be out of date technically on the 76th day of 2016. I'm not a fan of the best buy or enjoy buy date. I'd rather actually see a bottled on date, so I actually know how long it's been in the bottle. Because a lot of these brewers, a lot of them use a 3 months, which is pretty typical. But some of them even give a 4 or 5, even 6 months, and that's carried sometimes, depending on the style of beer, a little far. This being a 5.5% beer, it's probably going to keep for 6 months, but it's going to be a lot better probably the first couple of months, they say, especially since they've done oysters and stuff in this beer. So I want them as fresh as I can get them, guys. Unless it's a 12 to 15% bourbon barrel aged stout, there's no reason to have an enjoy by date. Just my 2 cents. Much rather see a bottled on date, and much rather see the month, day, and the year instead of some silly ass Julian code. You got to go somewhere to figure or decipher it out. So, and these guys are out of Maryland, I think, Frederick, Maryland. So, food pairing for this style of beer for the oyster stout, they're classifying it as an English stout. And the food pairing cuisine is barbecue, and since it's stout, it goes well with your chocolate dishes, of course. And the meat is beef, pork, smoked meat, and game for this. Pint Becker Nonic Tumbler Mug Stein Side Down. I'm using my favorite glass again today, guys. That's my buddy there. And not recommended for consented sourings. 5.5%, I would agree. That's why I'd like to see the bottle on date, so I would enjoy it by date. Let me make that decision, not you. Okay, into the bottle, into the glass we go. It's already in the bottle. Oh. And we're getting a pretty good size head there, so I'm going to back off on that pour, guys. I don't want another mishap like we had on the Evil Twin the other day. And speaking of Evil Twin, when I was digging through the fridge, when I come to get this beer, I found another Evil Twin beer in there. And guess what? I'm not going to review it. He chooses not to date it. I choose not to review his beers any further. Till I see a date on the bottles, you'll not see another one from him here on this site. So you know what I want to say? He can just go, and that's where we're going to leave it. Good looking beer. About a finger of head. Very dark. Let me get my hand out of the way. Getting a little bit of light through the thin part of the glass down here. Not much. Not much at all. It's pretty dark. Looks good though. Let's get a nose on it. I'm getting a nice crackery, salty, chocolate, roasted malt smell. I definitely can taste or smell the difference between this and like the one we had yesterday, the Otis from Ninkazi. A little more saltier. It's almost like a salty cracker smell to me. I swear it's exactly like it's a saltine cracker smell, along with the chocolate inside of the malt and the roastiness. Smells pretty good. I like a nice oyster stout. Like I said, I've done a couple, so let's see what it brings. Cheers, everybody. A little on the dry side, though. Very pleasant. It's a little on the thin side. Of course, a lot of the English styles of beers are a little on the thin side, a little more watery. They don't brew a lot like the Americans do. Bigger this, bolder that. I mean, just everything's off the chain, you know. More ABV, more this, more that. I mean, they do a lot of more subdued beers and lower ABV beers for people that want to have maybe 2 or 3 and not be shit-faced. A lot of 3.5, 4%, 4.5%. It seems like they try to keep a lot of them down below 5%. Where the Americans, oh man, we want to brew a 15, we want 20 or 25% alcohol beer. You drink one and you're done. So, very tasty though. And I am getting that cracker, that salty cracker taste. Time you get a beer that's got that salty taste to it, like a Goza, or even like this, where you're getting that little bit of saltiness. After you sip on it and it's kind of got like a dry finish, you go, I need another drink. I need another drink. Finish is dry and it's a little salty. You just keep on to chug them down. That's why I don't understand why a lot of the bars, a lot of them do, but don't have potato chips or peanuts or something salty setting up on the bar there. One reason is to get a little bit on your stomach for the people that ain't smart enough to eat something while they're drinking. Plus to give you that salty taste in your mouth where you need another drink, another drink, another drink. So, just my observation there, guys. Well, let me take it back and let her sip for 2 or 3, and we'll come back and do the final chuck and grade on this one. Pretty impressive. It's not blowing my hair back or anything, but it seemed like a decent beer. Alright guys, I'm back. Got just a little left here. Very nice. A little on the thin and watery side. Like I said earlier, a lot of the English style beers to me, the ones that I've tasted, and there are probably some exceptions, and Stuart would probably have some recommendations for me to try, but I don't buy a lot of imported beers anymore. They're just so pricey here, as I'm sure American beers are over there. You got that big transportation cost depending on where it comes from, even across the country here, and then you're going to put it on a ship or an airplane, however they transport it, more likely a ship, and sail it across the pond there. I heard somebody tell me that, one of my subscribers told me that the Smutty Nose Porter, which I buy here for like $10 a 6-pack, which is a very tasty porter, was like $13.99 a bottle in Australia. I'm going, whoa, somebody's getting rich there. You're paying $14 a bottle for it, and there's 6 in a 6-pack. How much is that 6-pack going to cost you? Do the math there, guys. That is a very, very. You want to spend $100 for a 6-pack, for a 6-pack of porter? I don't think homie could do that. I really, really don't. And that's another reason. And of course, Martin out there at the Barrel Chest has a big rack of imported beers. It's got St. Bernardus and all those beers that come from over there, in England and Germany and whatever. But they have such astronomical prices on them. I just don't have those kind of deep pockets, guys, where I can go in and spend $15, $20 for a bottle of beer. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm just not that rich, guys. I just can't do it. I like to try and sample those occasionally, but I just can't go in and buy 10 bottles of beer and spend $100, $150 for 10 bottles of beer, this size bottle. So, all right, let's get on with this one. Very nice. I'm not a big fan of this silly ass code that they use on their bottles, and had to go to the U.S. Beer List site to decipher that code to figure it out. So if you're in a store and you're looking at that on the bottle and you're going, what the hell does this mean? You shouldn't have to try to figure that out, guys. It doesn't take any more ink to print a month, day, and a year on there as it does to print this silly ass code. So probably going to cost them. Even though it's got the date, they made the attempt. Why do you want to waste time printing some Julian code when you can print them up day and a year? Go figure. Final chug. Nice crackery, salty crackery taste. Roasted malt. Not a lot of chocolate in there. Maybe a little bit of tobacco or something in there, but the roasted malt and the saltiness there and a little bit of bittersweet chocolate is basically the highlight of it, but it is kind of thin and watery to me. So, not a big fan of the dating, like I told you that. Even though it has it, they made the attempt, and you can go look it up. I would much rather see month, day, and a year. So I was torn between a 6 and a 7. I'm going to give it to 6. I'm going to give it to 6. They could just as easily print a month, day, and a year on there as they can print this silly code. So I'm going to start being a little harsher and a little crueler on these distributors that choose to print this silly ass Julian codes or whatever codes they're printing. Doesn't take no more ink to print month, day, and a year and be done with it. So if you can't do that, get the hell out of the way. Check it out. Can't stand the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen. So with that being said, we're in America. Let's do month, day, and a year. How about that? Yeah, that's a ticket. 6 for me. If I was putting a numeric rating on this one, guys, it would probably be about an 85. If it had a month, day, and a year on it, I would probably give it an 88 or an 89. All right, over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate says 84 in a good range. Rate Beer says 89 overall, 96 in the style. 96 in the style, I'll kind of argue with that just a little bit, but it's a decent beer for the English style stout. So very low ABV, 5.5%. So with that being said, if you've had this one from Flying Dog, the Pearl Necklace Oyster Stout, let me know what you think. I think it was a decent beer. Maybe a nice transition of beer for somebody who wants to get into a stout and hadn't had anything and didn't want to try anything with a 7, 8, 9, 10% ABV. This is a little thinner, a little less bolder than a lot of them are, and a little less ABV. Might be a good transitional beer to try to try a stout or get into that kind of beer. So, with that being said, like I said, if you've had this one from them, let me know what you think, and let's see what's in the fridge tomorrow. See you then.